When a woman suddenly goes quiet, stops texting back, or begins to emotionally withdraw, most men instantly fall into panic mode. It's a natural response, but it's not the right one. What you do in that silence matters far more than what you did when things were flowing. This moment, this stillness, this space is not just an absence of communication. It's a test, and what it's really testing is your emotional control. You see, women are intuitive. They don't always test you with words. They test with distance. When she pulls away, what she's often unconsciously asking is, can you hold your ground when I'm not validating you? And that's where most men fail. They start chasing, calling repeatedly, sending long paragraphs, or worse, getting angry and demanding answers. But all that does is show her one thing, that you're controlled by her presence and terrified by her absence. And nothing kills attraction faster than desperation wrapped in emotion. A high-value man understands that his calm response in moments of uncertainty is what truly separates him. Instead of spiraling into overthinking or reactive behavior, he pauses. He lets the silence be what it is, a moment, not a verdict. And while other men scramble to fix, explain, or pursue, he remains centered. Not because he doesn't care, because he cares about himself enough not to abandon his own emotional frame. There is power in restraint. When you don't panic, you're telling her, without saying a word, that you trust your worth even in the face of ambiguity, that her distance doesn't define your value, that you're grounded even when the ground beneath the relationship begins to shift. And that presence, that stillness, speaks volumes. What women often realize in hindsight is that the man who didn't chase, who didn't flinch, who didn't fall apart when they withdrew, that's the man who earned their respect. And respect, more than charm or good looks, is what keeps a woman's heart tethered. Because while affection can be given freely, respect has to be earned in moments like this. So the next time a woman distances herself, do the unexpected. Don't panic. Don't fill the silence. Let it breathe. Let her feel the contrast between the man who clings and the man who holds. Let your emotional control become your message, not one of indifference, but of inner strength. Because in the end, the man who keeps his power in silence, it speaks the loudest. When a woman pulls away or starts acting distant, many men make the mistake of responding to her emotion rather than her energy. And that's where things begin to unravel. You see, when she withdraws, she's often caught in her own internal world. Maybe confused, maybe testing, or maybe simply needing space. But instead of respecting that shift, men tend to meet her emotion head on. If she's cold, they get desperate. If she's moody, they get reactive. If she's distant, they chase harder. And what starts as a subtle shift turns into a complete loss of balance. But a wise man doesn't chase emotions. He mirrors energy. There's a quiet strength in simply observing what she's giving and responding accordingly without letting your own emotions spiral. If she becomes quiet, you don't get louder. If she slows down communication, you don't speed up yours. You don't force connection, you reflect it. That's not playing games. It's maintaining dignity. This is the moment where emotional maturity comes in, because women don't want a man who can only handle them when things are easy. They want a man who can hold his center when things get uncertain, a man who doesn't collapse at the first sign of withdrawal. By matching her energy instead of her emotion, you create safety, not needness. You show that you're not here to compete with her mood or beg for her validation. You're here because you choose to be, not because you need to be. Matching energy also communicates clarity. It says, I see where you're at, and I honor it without overreaching. That kind of awareness is powerful. It doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're intentional. You're not reacting to the storm. You're the calm before, during, and after it. And in a world where many men lose themselves trying to please, this kind of emotional steadiness is rare. It's magnetic. Think about it. When you chase someone who's pulling away, you teach them that they can withdraw and still control you. But when you stay grounded, when you reflect distance with composed detachment, you flip the dynamic. Suddenly, she begins to question why you didn't chase, why you didn't beg. And that space creates attraction, curiosity, even respect. So let her shift. Let her take a step back. You don't need to panic or over-explain. Just mirror the energy, keep your pace steady, and protect your peace. That's not weakness. It's power. Because the man who matches her energy, instead of absorbing her emotion, isn't trying to win her back. He's already won the only thing that matters since himself. And that's the man a woman eventually circles back to, the one who never stopped walking in truth, even when she paused. When a woman distances herself, the natural instinct is to shift all your focus onto her, to figure out what went wrong, to analyze every message, every moment, every silence. You find yourself checking your phone more often, replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you could do to pull her back in. But here's the truth most men miss. The more you focus on pursuit, the more you lose yourself, and the more she slips further away. Attraction doesn't thrive under pressure. It breathes in space. And what draws a woman back in isn't your persistence, it's your presence. A man who is deeply rooted in his purpose doesn't need to chase. He becomes the gravity that pulls. When you redirect your energy away from trying to fix, win, or explain, and instead pour that energy into your mission, your craft, your vision, you stop chasing her and start attracting her. Purpose is magnetic. It sharpens you. It centers you. When a man is grounded in his goals, his life becomes fuller. He doesn't obsess over someone else's attention because he's too focused building something meaningful, something that matters with or without her. That's not coldness. That's clarity. Women feel the shift when you're no longer orbiting them. They feel it when your time, your focus, and your energy are no longer dictated by how available they are. And that shift, oh, it speaks louder than words. Suddenly, the man who used to be emotionally available on demand becomes a little more focused, a little more disciplined, a little more mysterious. Not because he's playing games, but because he's finally playing his own. That's when a woman begins to wonder, begins to reflect, begins to feel what your presence used to provide. This is the secreting. While most men are drowning in neediness, trying to get her attention back, the high value man becomes so deeply immersed in his purpose that her attention starts to chase him. And even if it doesn't, he's already winning. Because he's not defined by who walks away, he's defined by what he's building while they're gone. So if she's ignoring you, if she's backing away, let her. Don't pause your life to wait in her shadow. Don't make her distance the center of your universe. Get back to your mission. Create, build, grow. Become a man whose life commands attention with or without her in it. Because when you focus on your purpose, you don't just survive her silence, you evolve through it. And in the end, nothing draws a woman closer than the man who never lost himself trying to hold on to her. When a woman begins to pull away, one of the most powerful things you can do is nothing. Not in a passive, indifferent way, but in a conscious, deliberate way. Most men react to emotional distance with panic and overcompensation. They send message after message, double text, check her stories, try to re-engage, prove their worth, or keep the connection alive at any cost. But in doing so, they rob her of something critical, the space to feel what your absence actually means. Sometimes the silence isn't an ending. It's a moment for reflection for both of you. And in that space, something very important happens. She gets a chance to notice what your presence brought into her life. The energy, the calm, the direction, the way she felt when you were near. But none of that realization can happen if you're constantly trying to concert yourself into her mind, into her inbox, into her emotional world. It's women. It's in your absence that she has the room to actually miss you. And let's be honest, people rarely value what's always available. That's human nature. The more accessible you are, the more you're taken for granted. But when your energy disappears, when your attention withdraws, when you stop chasing what isn't choosing you in the moment, that's when curiosity begins. That's when silence turns into questions. Not because you manipulated her, but because you respected yourself enough not to beg for closeness when distance was being offered. Leaving space isn't about playing hard to get. It's about understanding your worth. It's knowing that if she truly values you, she'll feel your absence like a quiet H. It won't be immediate. It may not even be obvious at first, but eventually, in the silence, she'll hear your name again, not from your mouth, but from her thoughts. This doesn't mean you wait around hoping she returns. That's not power. That's passivity. It means you let go with grace and get back to you. Your goals, your journey, your peace. Because if she does come back, it shouldn't be because you pulled her. It should be because she felt your absence so deeply. She couldn't ignore it anymore. And if she doesn't, that's okay too. Because a man who can leave space is a man who trusts that what's meant for him won't require chasing. That kind of confidence just shifts the dynamic. It transforms it. In the end, the man who learns to let go, to step back, to trust the silence, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he forced his presence, but he allowed his absence to speak louder than any words ever could. When a woman starts acting distant, many men lose their sense of self-worth in an instant. They forget who they are, what they deserve, and how they should be treated, all because they're afraid to lose her. But here's the truth. If someone's distance makes you forget your standards, it's not love you're chasing, it's validation. And that's not how a man moves. A man grounded in self-respect knows this: no matter how much he feels for someone, his standards don't drop just to keep them. He doesn't accept breadcrumbs. He doesn't tolerate mixed signals. He doesn't turn a blind eye to being ignored or emotionally played with. He's not rude. He's not harsh, but he is clear. His boundaries are not up for negotiation, not even for the woman he desires. Too often men equate loyalty with tolerance. They think being patient means accepting emotional games. But it's not. Patience doesn't mean you wait around hoping someone figures out your worth. Patience means you stay true to your values, even when it's tempting to compromise them for connection. When a woman pulls away or tests your limits, that's when your standards matter most. Not when things are going well, but when things start to shift. You don't need to get angry or confrontational. You simply need to stay rooted. If she stops communicating consistently, you don't chase. If she starts being hot and cold, you don't bend your boundaries just to keep her close. You acknowledge the change. You adjust your energy accordingly, and you remind yourself you're not here to convince anyone, here to connect with someone who already sees your worth without being begged to. A man who keeps his standards intact doesn't just protect his heart, he protects his future. Because the habits you tolerate today become the dynamics you suffer tomorrow. And what you allow teaches how to treat you. So if you make excuses for her distance, if you keep showing up while she pulls away, if you compromise your needs just to avoid losing her, you're not loving her. You're abandoning yourself. But when you hold your standard, something shifts. You show her and yourself that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. And if she values you, she'll rise to meet that standard. If she doesn't, she'll fall away. Either way, you win. Because you didn't trade your integrity for attention. So no matter how strong the feelings are, no matter how much you miss her, don't lower your bar just to keep someone who isn't reaching for it. Keep your standards, your dignity, and your sense of self. Because in the end, the man who refuses to shrink himself for loving becomes the one no woman forgets. When a woman starts acting distant, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable, many men fall into the trap of overthinking. They try to read between the lines, analyze her tone, decode her text, and guess what she's feeling. But here's the reality. When you find yourself constantly trying to figure her out, it's usually because she's not making her intentions clear, and that in itself is clarity. A high-value man doesn't play mental chess with someone's inconsistency. He doesn't build stories in his head or chase closure through imagination. He simply watches, listens, supports women, and lets time and behavior reveal what words can't. Because people who are genuine about you, who truly want to be in your life, won't leave you guessing. They'll show up with consistency, not confusion. Presence, not puzzles. It's exhausting to try and manage someone else's emotional climate. One day she's warm, the next she's cold. She gives you attention, then vanishes. And in the absence of clear direction, your mind fills in the blanks. But that's dangerous, because it puts you in a position where your peace is based on speculation, not truth. The antidote to that is simple, yet powerful. Stop guessing and start observing. Let her intentions unfold. Let her consistency speak louder than her words. Let her actions confirm or deny the connection. And during that process, remain grounded. Don't interrogate, don't pressure, just allow. When you give someone the space to be who they are without interference, they either show up in alignment or they disappear. And both are blessings. You don't need to initiate difficult conversations every time she pulls away. You don't need to beg for reassurance. If she values you, she will communicate. She will return with clarity. She will move towards you in ways that don't leave you doubting your place in her life. And if she doesn't, that's your answer. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. A man who trusts himself doesn't chase understanding in uncertainty. He lets the truth unfold naturally. He knows that love isn't something that needs to be forced or deciphered. It's something that flows when both people are ready and aligned. So stop exhausting yourself trying to interpret silence or decode distance. Let her reveal herself. Give her the space to choose you not out of pressure, but out of desire. Because when a woman truly wants to be there, you won't need to guess it. You'll feel it in her effort, in her energy, and in her presence. And if she doesn't reveal what you hoped for, you still win. Because you never lost your peace searching for answers someone else should have made clear from the start. So, women, when a woman begins to distance herself and ignore you, it's not your job to chase, to fix, or to plead. It's your moment to rise. These are the times that reveal the strength of your emotional control, your commitment to self-respect, and your clarity in relationships. You don't panic. You stay grounded. You don't react. You respond with grace. You match her energy, not her moods. You shift your focus away from pursuit and lock it back onto your purpose. You leave space, not out of ego, but out of wisdom. Knowing that absence can sometimes say what presence cannot. You protect your standards. You refuse to compromise who you are just to keep someone who's uncertain about you. And most importantly, you let her reveal her truth in her own time, women on her own terms while you stay rooted in yours. Because a man who holds his power in silence, who remains calm in confusion, and who values himself through it all is the one who never loses, no matter who walks away.